Right, we're recording. Action.
Hello.
Hello,
Right.
John.
Right, hello. So this is me. I've decided to do a podcast type thing. So this is getting recorded on Jim's thing.
Oh, very high tech.
Jim, yeah, apparently it's £20 a month to sign up for it. And I just got myself a car, and I'm a
Did
bit
I mention I only charge you £50 a recording?
Oh shit, man! I knew I'd be caught out. So I'm starting my podcast. Right, I want to eventually do one with cameras and stuff. So I'm actually in the room with somebody.
Aye, yeah.
So I can do it on Facebook, on YouTube, Facebook, and all that.
Aye.
I was thinking, I'm calling the podcast the Fuck It List because it's part of the kind of whole.
One of your gigs, wasn't it? Your shows, yeah.
Aye, but I've had that idea for a few years, and I've kind of held back on it. Mm-hmm. So the point that one of the things is doing a podcast. So one of the Fuck It List is doing a podcast, and I was thinking a wee while ago. I was hanging back. I was thinking I'll have to get the equipment, get the cameras, work out how to do the software, and all these things that I had to do before I start. And I thought. So the idea of going, fuck it, I don't need that now, I can start now.
Aye,
so I've got Zoom. I've got Zoom, I can do it like this now.
Yeah.
I can do it this now until I've got the equipment. At least now.
It'll be a big outlay, I would think. It'll be a big outlay to buy cameras and microphones.
I think I got a kind of list of stuff, so I think it'll cost about £400 or £500 to get the equipment, which is not, I mean, it's a lot of money, but once you get it,
once you've got it, haven't you? Yeah.
You've got it, and it's got. I've got lights and stuff. I've got these lights. So this is stuff I got a while ago. See these big lights.
Oh right, that's like a photographer's type thing, aye.
So I've got a set of them.
I like well. It's not quite
high tech. So I got a set of them. I've got them ready to go. So if I go to somebody's house to record something, I could take them for the light and stuff.
Aye.
So all I need now is two good cameras, so I can kind of do it. Now the way you kind of pan for each face.
Aye, yeah.
A couple of decent microphones and something to plug the microphones in. What do you call that thing? The sound system.
Aye, sound deck.
The sound deck. So all that stuff. But I mean, the thing is, I could do it now. I'm doing it now. So this is Jim, right? So the reason I get Jim on to my first one is. It's just because I like Jim's attitude, because the reason I want to do this podcast, right, I want to kind of have a laugh, right, have a laugh with people, right, get somebody that's kind of got a good attitude, right, so
my wife might differ.
I couldn't find anybody else, so I got Jim.
That was your last resort.
So somebody's got a good attitude, the attitude to life, like Jim does, so you get your fingers in all sorts of pies, isn't you, Jim?
I have, yes.
I just like that. A lot of people kind of get stuck in a rut. They kind of get stuck in their day job, doing something they hate. And Jim does. So I'll tell you, we'll talk about it. Jim does smoking cessation. Is that the word?
That's the cessation. That's it. Yes. Right.
So it does smoking cessation. So that's a lot of good stuff on mindset. You run a posh dog kennel.
That's the one. Luxury dog hotel.
Luxury dog. Am I shouting here, Jim? I just.
No, you're all right. It's all right.
Right. So he's got a luxury dog kennel, and you do stand up. I obviously know for a while.
Some people again may differ. Stand on a stage with a microphone, whether it's classed as stand up or not.
I get that's good, Jim. And you do funerals as well.
I do funerals, and I did for the last couple of years. I was sort of. I wouldn't say I was a co-founder as such, but with Viv G and my pal who used to live in the village here, he's in Pitlochry now. We put on the Cleef Comedy Festival as well.
All right, aye, that's right. Aye, so you've done the Cleef Comedy Festival as well. So
yeah.
Well, there we go. So we'll start off at the beginning, Jim.
The very beginning.
Oh no, we're going over there.
Can I remember back that far? I'm 52 now. Remember?
You're 52. No, you're not, Jim. So
I'll be 52 on Sunday.
Aye.
Same day as my youngest daughter, Kirsty. Her and I share the same birthday. So
that's good, isn't it?
On Sunday I'll be 52 and Kirsty will be 21.
That's right, aye. And you said she was a bit gutted because she couldn't get her pals out of the house.
I know, just because of all these changes, do you know what I mean?
So it's a bit mental. Instead of having, was it 10 pals you said she had?
Aye.
Exactly, she's exactly 10 pals.
Well, that
10
was the
pals.
10 closest ones, but
Aye.
we're just going to postpone it. And I said to her, you know, at the end of the day, it's a pain, right? Because I know what it's like when you want your 21st. But
Aye.
for the sake of a few weeks until things blow over a wee bit,
Aye.
then I said, because remember, there's people out there that haven't been able to see their loved ones in nursing homes, haven't
Aye.
been able to, you know, people have died without saying goodbye. Some people haven't even been able to go to a loved one's funeral because they limited the numbers to just 10 people.
Aye.
So it's inconvenient, but there's been a lot of other people in worse situations.
There's worse things, isn't there?
Aye.
Is she still going to go to the pub then? Or?
I think she's going to go to the pub on the Friday night. Aye, I think so.
Aye, that's
But they'll all need to book like tables of 2, or like 10 tables of 1 or something like that. You know, they'll need to find a way around it.
With a pub.
They can't even go to the park with a carry-out either, because that's illegal.
Is it? Aye, it was illegal anyway, but.
I know, no. She'll survive it, you know.
She'll be all right. She'll be all right. So, Jim, you tell us where you started. You your original, you were in sales, weren't you?
Well, actually, no. My very first job, I left school at 16, and my very first job was an office.
A couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago, aye. My very first job was actually as an office junior in a civil engineering office in Glasgow. And basically, my job was to make the tea, take stuff between all the different departments, help fold drawings when they're putting jobs out to tender.
Aye.
And I'd been with them for about 6 months.
Aye.
And one of the partners came to me and said, you know, your boss says you're very hard working, Jim. We're looking to redo the archives. We want to recatalogue all the archives.
Aye.
I'd been doing in the archives. It was like, you know, you get an old book, you go, you blow the dust off.
What was the drawing? Sorry,
it was a civil engineer, so they would design anything from power stations to dams to hydroelectric systems, all this kind of stuff.
Aye.
So basically, I spent 6 months in a basement, looking like Joke the Coleman, covered in dust, going through all these files and cataloguing everything and registering it. And anyway, so I did that. And after it, the partner said, we'd like to offer you a chance and a step up into civil engineering. So they offered me the chance to go to day release. That's an old thing. I don't think they do it anymore. Day release at college. So every Wednesday I would go to Stowe College, and I started studying for an HNC in civil engineering.
All right.
So I got my ONC, and then, but the money was terrible. You know, I think I was about, God, I must have been just about 18. And my salary was £3,100 a year.
Aye.
So I started working in my local pub, and one night this guy came in, all spangled up with the nice watches and the bangles, and his lovely wife, and I was serving him, and we get chatting, and turns out he was a regional director for some insurance company.
Right.
One thing led to another, and I made the decision to leave civil engineering and get into sales.
All right.
It was, on one hand, it was the worst job and the worst decision I ever made in my life.
Aye.
But at the same time, it was probably one of the best ones, because the 6 months that I did it, it was self-employed. Right? I had to drive about all my fuel I had to pay for, and I'll never forget one Christmas Eve. We met with the manager, and you hand over the policies that you've sold and all the money, and he said,
"Right, that's it." Door to door, Jim.
Oh, I run factories and shops, and I mean, it was a way of cutting your teeth in the world of sales. You know, there was no doubt about that. And then Christmas Eve one year, I did my checkout with the boss, and he said, right, so you're due the company that much, whatever's left, it's yours. And on Christmas Eve, to buy my presents for my mum, my dad, my sisters, and Angela, my wife, as she is now, my girlfriend at the time,
Aye.
I had 26 quid left over.
What?
26 quid. And that was the time I decided, right, this isn't good enough. So I worked temporarily for my uncle, who had a warehouse.
You're doing that job for 6 months?
Aye, and my weekly wage on Christmas Eve was £26.
Shit, man, really?
I'll tell you what it taught me, though, because I was quite, I know a lot of people don't believe this, but I was quite a quiet guy when I was a young man, you know. But I was going into factories with a big folder. Hello, my name's Jim. Can I speak to you? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember I did a presentation. There was a company called P&D Windows at Hillington. They did double glazing. And I spoke to one of the directors. He says, it's not the kind of thing I would normally do, son, but I like the fact you've had the balls to walk into such a big factory where a lot of people would just walk past it.
Aye.
2 days later, he organised for 120 of his staff to sit and listen to me give a presentation. And at the end, I was like, so who wants a policy? And I sat for about 3 hours writing policy after policy after policy. It was brilliant.
How much did you make for that one? Was that about 12 quid commission for all
Oh,
that?
it was at least 40. But in the UK, it was for the company, it was the single biggest sale they'd had in years.
Brilliant. Aye. So that was just chopping doors and getting into places. And...
Aye, getting into shops, and some people would tell you to beat it. Some people would be really rude to you, and it trained me how to. Every time I went in somewhere, I think, right, did they tell me to beat it because of how I approached them, about the things that I said?
Aye.
And I would evaluate every single call and say, right, I'm going to try it a wee bit differently this time.
Aye.
And as time went on,
change your approach.
Exactly.
Aye.
You know, one of the most important things I did, the first thing I did when I walked into a shop was look at somebody and smile.
Aye.
And see, when I smiled at them, they smile back.
Aye.
And automatically, they'll think, no, this guy seems all right. You know, he smiled at me and everything else. Anyway, so that kind of all fell apart. And then I applied for a job selling photocopiers. Sorry, not photocopiers, primarily fax machines.
Aye.
Remember the old-fashioned fax machines with the rolls of paper and all that kind of nonsense.
See, that's a thing I've never used. I've never used a fax machine.
It was amazing. So I went for the interview and I got the job. So they put me on 3 months probation to see if I was any use. And I tell you what, in the 2 years I think I did that job, now bearing in mind I would be 20 years old.
Aye.
It was times, my best month's salary was a January. I'd sold that many fax machines that my take-home pay after tax was $4,500.
Aye.
And you know, that's like 30 odd years ago.
How about 2.5?
3.5.
3.5 grand.
Mm-hmm. No, sorry, 4.5. It was about 4.5 after tax, aye.
Aye, see, sales is a great job. It's like, I think, when I was younger, well, I studied engineering and all that at uni. Go to uni for 4 years, but I was never into it. But I think when I was younger, I think anybody could learn a lot doing sales because it's right out of your comfort zone.
100%, yeah.
So I've done like 2 door-to-door sales jobs, and I lasted like 2 days in each of them. One was life insurance, and I think the reason I didn't like it is because I didn't believe in it.
You can never sell something you don't believe in.
Aye.
100%.
But I'd done it. There was a job I'd done once, right, and I wasn't a fan of it, but I was actually quite good at it, and it was selling. It was like I was going around home bases. When I was setting home bases, and have you ever seen they have these wee desks and you get people doing demonstrations?
Oh, like an in-store demonstrator kind of thing.
Aye. So I'd done that for about a month. I think the reason that at the time I didn't have a car, so they were sending me all over the place, and it was too much hassle to get there. Aye. And it was basically these magic cloth things. So it was these super absorbent cloths.
Oh, aye.
Right, so basically I'd done this demonstration. I would spill Coca-Cola on a carpet and then I would wipe it off. And then at the end I would go, right, these cloths, you get one for 20 quid, but you get an extra one, plus you get this mop. And the mop was
shite. You throw in all the extras.
You throw in all the extras, and the mop was absolutely shite. It was rubbish. I've got one and it lasted about a week. And I remember doing it, so I enjoyed doing it because you'd gather a crowd around you. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day, like I got like 4 quid for every one I sold. So one day I done it, and because you can do a demonstration like maybe once or twice an hour. Mm-hmm. And one time I done it, it was like a Saturday, it was busy, and a crowd on me, and I sold 15 of these.
Wow!
And it's a kind of power you can have, the power of a crowd. You get one person buying it, just kind of the energy spreads.
Well, if they've bought it, must be good. I'll buy one as well.
Aye, so I sold it 15. So that was like £16 and like £60, £60 and about a 10-minute presentation.
All right,
and I was like, this is brilliant. I was good at that, but I just, the cloth was a bit shite. And I remember doing one demonstration, and I was doing the thing, and then in the middle of doing that, some woman came in that had been in earlier on in the week. It says, can I get a refund of this mop? It's shite. That was that presentation gubbed.
Presentation.
Aye, it's definitely just dispersed. Oh, fuck's sake. But learning how to, I think sales is a technique.
Oh, it's an absolute skill set, because people think that to be a good salesman, all you need to do is have the patter and talk.
Aye.
There's an old there's a kind of an old saying in sales that selling isn't telling. And we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And as a salesman, you should use them in that proportion. In other words, use them twice as much as you use that. Because using them, you use that to ask questions, and then you use them to listen to what people are saying. And you look for the opportunities, you look for the words. And I never forget one year I was selling anti-slip paint to British Rail, as it still was then.
Anti-slip paint?
Anti-slip paint. Oh, I've sold everything.
Anti-slip paint?
Slip. No slip paint. No. Slip to stop you falling over. And it was a really specific job. It was for a footbridge, which they couldn't allow to be closed for too long because people need to access over the railway. And I remember asking the guy, I says, if you could, I like to ask questions that would make people think. And I said to him,
I might take some notes here, Jim. Listen, I'm learning a lot here.
I know what it is.
You're doing a podcast. See, that's another reason I want to do this podcast. Because I want to get people to learn stuff from as well. If I learn stuff for you, the people who listen to learn as well, hopefully. Maybe, I don't know.
As well as the recording that I charge for, I tell you, I charge for my training as well.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man. So this first podcast, Jim's made
it's going to cost you a fortune. Even people buying the cameras. So I asked this guy.
IT as well, Jim, because when we first started, we couldn't get on because my camera wasn't working.
IT consultancy skills.
He's got an IT consultant, sales skills. Plus, this is what it cost me a fortune.
So I remember saying to this guy, I said, so how would you rate your current supplier of this bridge deck?
And
he said to me, we've been using them for ages. He says, they're pretty good. The one word out of that reply that stuck in my mind was the word pretty. And I said, what do you mean pretty? He says, because the word's pretty good doesn't imply to me that you're over the moon. I said, so on that basis, is it if you could rate them between a scale of 1 and 10, 1 being total rubbish and 10 being perfect, where would it be? He said, probably about 6 or 7. I said, so what did he not do that would make it a 10? Well, it doesn't do this and it doesn't. All of a sudden I knew what he needed just by asking a couple of questions. I said, well, if I was to bring a product to you then that would take it from a 6 or 7, maybe not to a 10, but even an 8 or a 9, would you be interested? What's he going to say? Of course I would.
You know, I'm interested, Jim. I want some of this paint as well.
Have you got a footbridge? Because it's a specialist paint.
I don't want a footbridge. I just want the paint, Jim. I'll just paint my floor.
Quite right. And you know, it doesn't matter how drunk you get, you'll never slip.
I'll never slip, Jim. Send us some, right? So
that was that. But when I left, when I went into selling the fax machines, you know, it was a kind of low basic. I think my basic was about $4,000 a year.
Right.
But the job was based on mainly commission. You got a company car and all that kind of stuff. But you were based, your commission, you were 20% of your commission. Sorry, you get 20% commission on the first £4,000 worth of profit that you brought in the month. And once you breached the 4,000 profit level, you get 40% of the profit that you brought in.
Right.
And these guys were slick. They were trained by 3M. They worked for the 3M copier company. You know.
So that was a copying company,
That was, I mean, 3M's a big company. They make masks. They do. 3M stands for Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing or something.
All right. Aye.
But so these guys were slick. They wouldn't allow us to wear anything other than a plain dark suit, a plain white shirt, a plain tie. Every week we'd have random sock checks. Make sure you weren't wearing stupid looking socks. You know, I remember my wife bought me a sock check.
Aye.
Or a car check. Make sure your car was tidy and clean. Make sure your briefcase was organised.
Right.
I remember turning up one day and my wife had bought me a gold bracelet for I think it was probably for my 18th or something like that.
Aye.
He says, big man, get that off. You look like a market trader. Don't wear that, you know.
What was it you had? Sorry, what?
A gold bracelet.
All right.
Aye, so you look like a market trader.
Bell boy.
Aye, get rid of that. But the mindset that those guys put you into was that you were always to be the best. Aye. So I learned about the fax machines and the job, the bulk of that job, you got most of your business from cold calling.
Right.
So I used to go to places, say like a Park Circus, you know, up the G3 area, up Woodlands Road. Park Circus, whereas it used to be all big stately houses, like townhouses, there was companies on every level, lawyers, solicitors, accountants, all sorts of companies. And quite often you'd go to the main door and there'd be a big sign there saying no cold callers.
Right.
And for most people, they'd see that sign and go, oh, I'm not going in there. I thought, well, I'm not a cold caller. I'm an information gatherer. So I'd walk in and I'd go to
you changed your what's the word I'm looking for? You changed how you seen yourself.
Aye. I knew I was a cold caller, but they weren't allowed, so I made myself something different. And I'd go to the top floor and I'd work my way down. And every time people would say, "Did you not see the sign at the front? Sorry, we don't entertain cold callers." I said, "Oh, no, don't worry about that. I'm not a cold caller." "All right, what are you?" I said, "To be fair," I said, "I've been targeted to try and find some information. We're doing some market research about the types of machines that people use and how often." "All right. And do you have a compliment slip?" And I would take down all the information. And we always had a big box beside our desk in the office full of compliment slips. And you just, every Thursday you would phone and make appointments. Every Thursday night we had a sales meeting where woe betide any sales guy that put up their call planner. And it was that long ago. We had to write our call plans on an acetate and put it on an overhead projector. Do you remember them?
I remember them well, Jim.
Aye. And if we had a good sales week the week before, we all went out and had a nice meal and the company treated us to champagne and seafood and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I loved it. And it taught me a valuable lesson. One of the things he said to me was, always under-promise and over-deliver.
Aye, I like that, aye.
Because he said, the minute you turn that around, you're doomed.
Aye.
Because if you start promising things that you just know you'll never deliver, you know, and you've got to build trust.
Aye.
I became hardy. I remember there was a lawyer, Donald R. Campbell, his name was, and he was in Lindach Place in G3.
Aye.
And one of my colleagues had sold him a copier, just a wee basic 10 pages a minute thing. Aye. He said, "But he's not got a fax, Jim." He says, "But watch out, the guy's vicious, absolutely vicious."
Aye.
So I phoned him up one day and said, "Oh, Mr. Campbell, this is Jim from Clydesdale Office Equipment. I believe you've got one of our copiers." "Goodbye." Put the phone down on me. I phoned him back and I said, "Sorry, Mr. Campbell, we get cut off." And he went, "Nope, I put the phone down on you. Goodbye." Put the phone down. And I tried another 2 or 3 times, no joy. So I left it a week and I jumped in the car and I drove to his office and I went into reception. I said, "I'm from Clydesdale Office Equipment. I'm from the customer care division. I'm just here to have a check on your copier, make sure it's working okay." She went, "All right, that's fine." And I'd made up a wee kind of checklist thing. And once I'd done the checks, I said to the girls, I said, "Do you mind if I fax this back to the office?" "Oh, we don't have a fax." I said, "You don't have a fax?" "No, he'll not have one." I said, "But could you use one?" She went, "Aye." I said, "I think I've got a spare one in the car. I could stick one in here and you could try it for a few days."
Aye.
And he came through and he said, what are you doing?" Anyway, I said, "Look, if you want a shot of a fax machine, there's one there." And so I programmed it and set it up.
Aye.
Came back a week later and I just went straight to unplug it. And he's going, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, your 1 week demonstration period's up. I need to move it on." "Well, maybe leave it for another couple of days. I've just got some important." "Nah, but you told me you didn't need a fax machine, you know." But it was a monster to deal with. But see, when you knew how to deal and just deal with them differently, that was the thing.
I like that attitude. Most people would kind of go, "I'm not dealing with that guy. He's too much hard work." Right? Somebody with a good attitude, like you go, "Like fuck it, he's a challenge."
Fuck it, aye. To me, it was a challenge, you know.
Right. And that's part. I think that's the fuck it thing in it. So it's part of the kind of going, "Fuck it, I'm going to."
Absolutely. And do you know one other thing I did? I remember there was a big, massive company, and my boss said to me, "Oh, you were in that area? Did you knock on the door of such and such?" And I said, "No, I didn't, Joe. You know, because it's a big organisation. They're probably a Xerox account or something like that." He said, "What do you mean they're probably a Xerox account? I'll accept that if you come back and tell me that it is a Xerox account."
Aye. But you didn't know. I
didn't know. He says, "I tell you what, I dare you to prove me wrong."
Aye.
So I jumped in the car and I drove back to where that place was and I went in and knocked the door. Turns out it wasn't a Xerox account. It was just all done locally, you know. Right. And ever since that, whenever I went past a building, it didn't matter whether it was copiers or anything else I ever sold. If I ever walked past a company or drove past a company and thought, "Nah, they probably wouldn't have used that." See, the minute I had that thought, I turned the car about and I parked it up and I went in and I knocked the door.
Aye.
Probably seven times out of 10, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Aye. So I like that mindset, Jim, because I think that's good for a lot of things. See that kind of thing, like doing comedy. Yeah, a lot of, when you tell, like, see when you started doing comedy, actually, I think I remember the night I met you.
It was in the Yes Bar. I think it was the night that Phil Kay was on.
Aye, that's how I remember it, because you
That
were
car
in
crash.
McCallum. You were in McCallum. I was just in watching.
That's
And
it.
I think I just ended up chatting to you because you just done Viv G's course.
That's right. Aye, yeah.
And I ended up chatting to you and Callum. And
Aye.
Phil Kay was bluttered.
That's an understatement.
Oh, man. He was just, I don't know if it was he good or was he shit. I don't know. It was just.
You don't remember there was a wee woman that when he came off the stage, there was a wee woman sitting at the front. She said, "Come here, you son. You're a disgrace, getting pissed going to your work. You should be ashamed of yourself."
Oh, she probably didn't know who he was.
No. And I think the wee same woman, I think she was there the week before. And when I came off, she said, "I was really disappointed in you." I said, "Why?" She says, "I thought you were that Irish guy off the telly." She thought I was Darryl O'Brien.
Shit, man. No, she thought you were Darryl O'Brien and she didn't know who Phil Kay was. So
legislate for them.
So the point is, like, see, when you do your first gig, do you remember your first gig?
Oh, aye. Vividly.
You have that fear, but that kind of terrifying kind of dread before you go on.
Aye.
And then, so just a bit of that sales thing. So you get into a company, you go, this will never work. This will not be interested. It's pointless getting in. So you get that kind of fear, but then you go, fuck it, and then you do it. And after you do it, you kind of go, it was never as bad as I thought.
Exactly.
It was always different.
One of the things my dad died back in 1992, but it was a man for telling me. He used to give me these motivational sayings, things, and guide me through life. And I always thought he was a genius, and he'd come up with these amazing motivational quotes. I later found out that he just nicked them for famous people and changed them about a wee bit, you know. One of the things he taught me was, and there was two things that to this day I talk about, and to this day guide everything I do. And one of them was, whether you think you can, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, usually you'll be right.
Aye, that was, who was it who said that? Billy, that was
I can't remember. My dad. You know my dad?
Oh, your dad, right? Well, it was your dad.
The other thing he said is, when I started selling, you know, some days you go out and you just sell nothing. Some days you come back full of self-doubt thinking, why am I wasting my time?
Aye.
And my dad always said to me, remember this, son. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Aye.
You know, if you didn't win, you never lost. You just learned something.
Aye.
You know?
Exactly. You definitely, it's the same with comedy, right? When you have a good gig, it's great. But you don't learn anything. The biggest lessons in stand-up is when you die in your hoop. When you really die your arse. You get
those blank stares from the audience.
Aye. When the audience walk by you and disgust after the gig, that kind of thing, that's when you learn. You kind of go, all right, I shouldn't have said that at the start of the gig. I didn't get the connection with them, or, you know, you work something out.
Aye. Because, and I remember I had a boss at one point said to me, as of today, you've got my authorization to make as many mistakes as you want.
Brilliant.
He said, but let me just give a caveat to that. Please make sure you only do one of each kind of mistake.
Aye.
And what he was challenging me to do was to face up to that, was to challenge myself to make a decision on something. Don't think, can I phone my boss or I'll get back to you. Act on it then. You know, if you think that decision's right, make the decision. If it doesn't work out, don't worry about it. Because at least you'll know the next time not to do it.
Aye.
And seeing my days as a fax salesman, another thing that they taught me is that
a fax salesman.
Fax salesman, not facts as in I sell facts about life. But he said, the director said to me, every time you go in for a deal, whether you come out there with a signed document or an order, or whether you don't, ask the client, you know, for example, if somebody bought something, if somebody agreed to buy from me, I said, before I go, can I ask you a question? Why did you choose to buy from me?
Aye.
And most people's reaction is, what?
Aye.
Say that again. I said, well, I'm interested. Was it me? Was it the machine? Was it the price? Was it a combination of things? And likewise, if I didn't get the deal, can I ask just before I go, why you bought from someone else and not me? Because whatever he told me either way, I learned something.
Right.
Right.
And did you find most people are quite open about it? All right, fair enough, mate. The reason I didn't is because
nobody asked. Very few people asked those questions. So when you did ask that question, not only did it come as a surprise to them, but they were actually quite impressed that you had the balls to ask the question.
Aye.
You know?
Aye, well, where did I fuck up there?
Or what did I do right? What did I do right? So I can carry on. I always remember, just a funny story that came to mind. I used to phone up a lot of the copier customers that had been customers for years, because that was a good start. They were already dealing with the company. And I remember phoning a guy up one day and he said, I said, I'm Jim, I'm from the fax division of this particular company. I won't make the name. He went, oh, that bunch of bastards. Aye, they were supposed to pay off my existing lease, and they've never done it. I says, and I'll tell you what, I'll not be talking about any fax machine to you. I said, right, look, can I help you out here? Right? Let me arrange a time to come and see you. I want you to tell me exactly what the situation is. I'll take that back and I'll discuss that and I'll get it sorted for you. And I promise you something, the last thing I'll do is talk about a fax machine. He went, right, okay, come and see me. So I'd sit down and take all the notes about what went wrong. And before I left, I said, now, while I'm here, have you got a fax machine? And he said to me, well, hold on a minute. You told me on the phone the last thing you would talk about was a fax machine. I said, well, I've got nothing else to talk about. This is the last thing I'm talking about. And see, when I said that to me, he looked back and he went, right, okay, carry on, son. You know, because he just thought I was doing what I promised. He just misinterpreted what I'd said.
Did they laugh? But did you laugh at that?
Aye, he laughed. Ended up buying a fax machine as well.
Brilliant. That's class. You could have built a bit of comfort with him. You could have gone well with him, and then at the end you get away with it.
Because you know what, John? See, it doesn't matter if you're doing a comedy gig. You're in effect, when you're on the stage, you're selling yourself, right? You're selling you as a person, your take on life, your sense of humour and everything else. You know, whether you're selling jokes or whether I'm selling paint or whatever, it doesn't matter. The other thing that they always said to me said, remember that people buy from people. Initially, totally. The minute you walk through the door, the minute you pick the microphone up, if they like the look of you, if they like the sound of you, or the way you walk, or the way you talk, or you know, you've got like 6 or 7 seconds to make that listen.
Oh, totally. And you know yourself. Have you ever seen see an unknown act? Well, I just go on stage most of the time. You have to win them over in the first minute.
Absolutely.
Whereas, have you ever done a gig where Kevin Bridges or somebody's turned up? They like him already because they know who he is. So you get that first few minutes, but once you get them, it just takes a wee bit longer to get them.
Absolutely.
But then once you've got them, it's a piece of piss.
You know what you've just said there as well. I mean, I could spend all day telling you words of wisdom that was given to me from sales managers and colleagues. But you know, in later life when I sold glue, not that kind of glue, but
glue snippers,
it was water based, so it was pretty benign. You know,
did you try it?
Nah, it was that white stuff that used to stick to your fingers at school. You know, the PVA. But I was selling glue in like ton bottles or 30-ton tankers. You know, to big packaging companies, and some companies you'd walk in and you'd introduce yourself and they'd give you a trial on the machine straight away and you'd get the business and you think, well, that was a piece of cake. Other companies, one company down in Darlington, I spent probably 2.5 years working to get the business because they'd been with the same supplier for like 25 years. But I got to know the waste management guy, the buyer, every guy that ran every machine in that factory. I even got to know the maintenance manager. I got to know the print shop manager. I got to know the managing director. I got to know, you know, even everybody and anybody. Because unless you can fully understand people's business, you know, so that what my boss said to me said, the longer you have to work, the harder you have to work, the more challenging, the more hurdles you need to overcome to gain a bit of business. The longer you'll keep that business at the end of it. And it was so true, because if you walk in and somebody changes with you in a couple of weeks, well, the next guy that comes in, if he said something a wee bit better or a wee bit different, he can equally just change to another supplier. So there's no loyalty in that sense of people that change quickly, but the people you work hard. And that company that I worked for 2.5 years to get the business, when I sat down to negotiate the price with the managing director, he said, how much is the glue then? And the first delivery into their bulk tank went wrong because it reacted with the glue they had in it. And I mean, it caused all sorts of... Well, I get the call at 11 o'clock at night, and I was in Darlington for 2:30 in the morning, just as a salesman. By 4 o'clock in the morning, I had an industrial cleaning company down there with a tanker to suck it out, industrial jet washing company. They never missed a beat because we had a kind of contingency. And when he asked me about the price, he said,
you're about
10% higher. I said, right. He said, can you not give me a discount? I said, well, let me just... So by running what we now run, we've reduced your waste by 7%. So there's a 7% discount on your waste and your cardboard, which to be fair is 85% of your spend. You're also now be able to laminate, cut, glue, pack, and send out the door online. So that's a big bonus as well. And I listed off all these things. And he looked at me and said, that's what I hate about you. He says, you know too much about my business. And I don't have an answer for what you've just given me. So although the glue was higher in price, the savings and everything else that he gained from it was just it was totally immeasurable, you know.
Brilliant. That's good, Jim. We'll go on to see that. Right, so you done that, and then what? After you done all your sales, you went into your. So did you go for that to your dog business?
Well, I was still in sales. I was still in sales when I started doing the stop smoking thing, because I was an on and off smoker for years, fanning about with starting and stopping and kidding myself on. And then I read a book one day, the Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking.
I've heard about it. I've never smoked, but I've heard about it. I'd like to read it, just the psychology of it.
Brilliant. So I read that. I bought it on the Monday because my dad died of lung cancer when I was 23. And, you know, right the way throughout the next 13 years, I hated myself for doing it. And I was always terrified that I might end up like my dad, you know.
So when did you stop smoking?
15 years ago, 2005. So I bought the book at W.H. Smith's, and I read the first half of it on the Monday night, and I finished it on the Tuesday. And on the Wednesday morning, I phoned the guy that used to run the clinics in Scotland asking for a job.
Brilliant.
And I met him on the Thursday. That sounds like a Craig David song, doesn't it? Bought it on the Monday, read it on the Tuesday, phoned him on the Wednesday.
Did you pump him on the Friday there?
No, I didn't go that far.
Did you go that far?
He was a vegan. So I bought the book on the Monday, read it Monday, Tuesday, phoned him on the Wednesday, and I went through and I met him, and he said, I don't have a full-time job, but I'm looking for a new therapist to do some sessions in Edinburgh. So I met him in Livingston. He was in Edinburgh himself.
You use your sales skill to kind of get him to give you that job as well then?
Not really, no. It was just it's like what we're doing now. It's just like a general chat, you know. Because when you're looking for an Alan Carr therapist, you need to have been a smoker. You need to have stopped using the method, whether it's the book or a session or whatever. But you need to really not only just understand it, you need to have a kind of thing in that says, I need to do this. I need to do this to make people feel the way I've just felt after reading a book. I can't believe it.
So is that why you done it? Because you knew the benefit from it?
It was instant, John. As I read that book, I'm sitting flicking through the pages. Initially, I'm thinking, right, get to the point. Tell me what that is. Tell me what this easy way is. But as I read through each chapter, I kind of went, right. Seriously? No. Fuck it. It was like this guy had been following me. Everything that I had thought about and did, he knew inherently. And it was just, it was like being an onion. You know, I started that book like an onion with a big hard brown outer skin on it. And as I went through each chapter, every layer of illusion, if you like, was just getting peeled away. And when I got to the stage, he said, I'll now ask you to smoke one final cigarette with a smile on your face and be happy about it. And I did. And it was just like that. I felt like a twat for being a smoker, because I'm thinking, what he's just explained to me, I should have known that. It's so simple. Simple. So I met him on a Thursday and he said, you'd make a great therapist. I'll get a therapist training agreement sent. Got that the next week, signed that, sent it back. The week after that, I got this here. That's the training manual. That. The first session lasts about 5.5 hours. And it's basically 5.5 hours of me talking, right? Which I know can be testing. But that took me 18 months of my life to memorise it word for word.
Right, so you've got that presentation word for word then?
Aye. Yeah.
You say word for word?
Well, you learn it word for word, but every therapist is different. You know, you've got your own delivery style. We've all got our own backstories, our own experiences in life and all that kind of stuff. And that was it. I started being a therapist, and then about a year into there was another therapist based in Rothsay, Paul Melvin. He'd been a therapist for about a year and a half. And I'd only met him twice, right? Wait here, this is the gospel, right? I'd only met Paul twice at kind of sales meetings, if you like.
Aye.
And I think I spoke to him for about an hour each time. So Paul and I only knew each other and had only met each other for 2 hours.
Aye.
And one day, the previous owner decided they wanted to sell up the franchise for Scotland.
Right.
And he contacted Paul and I and said, guys, I want to move on.
Aye.
Paul and I borrowed tens of thousands of pounds. We went into business together.
Aye.
Having only met each other for 2 hours.
Aye.
And we've now been in business for...
You must have got on well with him then, aye.
Oh, aye, we've never had a bad word. Sometimes I'll make a suggestion about a strategy.
You hear what he says about you behind your back, Jim?
I can imagine. He's a Cumbernauld boy, actually, originally. But, you know, sometimes I'll make a suggestion. Why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? And if I hear this noise, I think, he's not quite convinced about that, you know. But, you know, we went travelling all around Scotland. We went to see companies. Paul was flying off onto oil rigs, doing stop smoking sessions out there. So the first franchise was 10 years long. And then we renewed it for another 10 years for Scotland. And then last July, my colleague in Dublin was, she'd been doing it for 20 years. She had no therapist. One was retired and one was on long-term sick. So Paul and I were flying in and out of Dublin a couple of times a month. And then when she decided to retire at the end of last year, we bought the franchise for the Republic of Ireland as well.
All right, so you got Scotland and Dublin?
Scotland and the whole of Ireland, aye.
Brilliant. So how often do you do that, Jim? I've only spoken to you briefly about the smoking.
Well, Ireland, before COVID turned up and reared its ugly head, we were doing 3 sessions a month in Dublin and two sessions a month in Scotland, one in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow. We used to be in Aberdeen, but the numbers were poor, you know.
So when you do the sessions, how many people do you get in? Is it in a seminar room you get it in?
Aye, well, in Dublin, we were having 25 smokers in a room at a time.
Right. Aye.
Glasgow and Edinburgh.
How long was the sessions?
It's what?
How long was the sessions?
5 to 5.5 hours long. But you get fag breaks during the session.
Aye, you should stop for a fag break.
Now, right at the beginning, I say to people, now we're going to there'll be 4 cigarette breaks throughout the session. And I know you'll all be thinking, what the hell are we doing here? We're here to stop smoking. This guy's telling me to smoke. I said, but there's two reasons why Alan realised it's important for people to smoke. The first reason is that if somebody sits in a room thinking, shit, for 5 hours, I'm not going to have a fag. Immediately, they're going to be feeling on edge and uptight. And I say to people, we don't want you feeling that way as you go through this process. We need you to feel calm and relaxed. So don't worry. You'll get a fag as you go through the process.
Do you take cigarettes for them? Do you have them?
No, they bring their own, but I take them off them at the end. I've got a bag of fags here.
Aye.
At the end of it, they throw all their fag boxes into the bag.
You got another business selling cigarettes as well, Jim, haven't you?
Second-hand fags down at the bars. I say to them, but the most important reason why we ask you to smoke is because anytime we ask you for a smoke break, we give you an instruction. We give you something to focus on, something to be aware of, because most smokers will smoke, even 70, 80 a day smokers, they'll give as much thought to lighting a cigarette as they would do to scratch their bum if it was itchy. They just do it. They don't really think about it, you know. So when we ask them to smoke, we're getting them to smoke consciously, be aware of the feeling, the taste, and you know how they were before it, how they are during it, how they are after it. And see, when they start to do that, their mindset starts to change. You know, there's a bit during the session where we talk about whether people enjoy smoking. And I get a fag out of the bag, and I don't light it, obviously, but I put it in my mouth, and I do this. I said, so am I smoking? No. Why not? I said, well, you need to light it first. Fair enough. So imagine I put it in my mouth, and I've lit it now, and I've got it hanging out my mouth. Am I smoking now? No. So what do I need to do to smoke? Well, you need to inhale it and blow it out. I said, right, so would you agree then, when people say they enjoy smoking, what they're actually saying is, I enjoy breathing in and blowing out cigarette smoke. Now, we send them out to then try that, and I say, just take 3 or 4 fags, but focus on the going in and the going out. And when they come back in, I ask them, did that give you any genuine pleasure? And they'll all say no. Because you see, it was only half an hour after the last fag. So the point I proved to them there is, it's not the smoking of the cigarette they enjoy, but it's the relieving of the aggravation caused by low nicotine from the last cigarette. And because you've gone out there not low in nicotine, you don't have the itch. So it's like scratching your bum when it's no itchy. You don't get any pleasure in it. You know? So it's just an explanation. And it's amazing to watch people, especially men, you know, they kind of come into the room like that. You know?
Like that, they kind of go.
Right, big man. Yeah, what are you going to tell me that I don't already know? And then when we get to the first cigarette break, when they come back in, they quite often sit forward like that, and they're going, right, okay.
So they come in sceptical. They go, this guy's full of shit. This guy's full of shit.
We encourage them, because the more sceptical they are, the better, actually, because it's easier to then to flip the mindset. And then when we get to the second break, where there's a kind of diagram we explain on how you decline into addiction. One of the most common body languages you see is people like this, leaning forward on their knee like that. And when you see that, you just know that there's something dropping in here that's saying, what have I been doing? You know? It's an amazing,
sounds brilliant. I'd like to get, I don't smoke, I think I want to start smoking.
Just so that
I suppose I can come to you and I just learn your stuff.
Did you know I had a famous TV and movie star join my session one day?
Who's that?
Peter Mullen.
Who's that?
It's obviously not as famous to you. He's been in Harry Potter, Braveheart, Warhorse. You watched Ozark?
What?
Have you watched Ozark on Netflix?
No, I've not seen it. No.
It's about a guy that's doing money laundering for drug cartels and all that, but there's a real bad guy, and it's Peter Mullen. He's in that.
He's Scottish.
He's Scottish, he's from Glasgow, yeah.
So
I haven't spoken to him in a number of years, but I did meet him. I did meet him in Marks and Spencer's one day in Central Station a couple of years after the session, and he hadn't smoked since.
Brilliant. So is there a kind of percentage of people that stop? Is there a kind of success rate? Or?
Well, it varies obviously from country to country because it's a global thing. You know, there's people all over the world doing this. There was some clinical studies done both in Ireland and in London just recently. And we've been proven to be better than the NHS. But there were some other studies where the success rate after a year was like 50%.
That's pretty good.
Right. NHS could be a lot lower than that, but everybody's different, and we give a money back guarantee. So if somebody goes to somebody goes to the main session, and after it they're still smoking, they've got a period of 3 months where they can do two sort of free top-up sessions. And so long as they've done those 2 top-up sessions within that 3-month period, if they're still
top-up sessions, is that over Zoom or something?
No, we still do them face to face, but it's the same messages, but we approach it in a slightly different way. If you know what I mean.
It's just I think sometimes that's like the reinforcement, because you get the mindset, but then you can quite easily get back into the old way of thinking.
Some people leave the session and never smoke again for the rest of their lives. Some leave the session and smoke straight away. Others maybe go a few weeks and think, that's it, I've cracked it, and have one and think, oh well, that's me back in it. And so long as they've done those 2 sessions within that 3-month period, if they're still smoking, they just phone us or email us and we'll just refund their money back. I say to people, I don't even have to meet you to smell your breath to see if you're winding me up. We just take people on their word because we think and we believe, if I've been the person that's finally dragged you out of the smoking trap, finally freed you from the fear of lung cancer and heart disease and all that other stuff, the last thing you're going to do is come back and try and defraud the guy that helped you. You know?
And if somebody's going to do that, they're dicks.
I mean, I don't think it's ever happened to me, but a wee fly there.
I've done a wee flies a bit of lodging.
So
do you know, there's a thing I remember, I don't know if you're into like Tony Robbins kind of stuff.
I've been into all that kind of stuff over the years,
That mindset thing, he talks about everybody can change their mindset and then they can go back into the old one. And what it's like, he says it's like tuning a piano. Just like when you tune a piano, it's fine, but you need to retune it every few months.
Every so often. Very true.
So you need to kind of tighten them up again. So you can retune something, then it starts going off into the old way, and then just retune it every now and again. It's fine.
Absolutely. And it's doing that, the stop smoke sessions made me realise the power of the human brain.
Oh,
Because I could have a room with 10 people in it.
aye,
6 of those people would leave that room and never smoke again and be delighted with it.
aye.
3 of them might leave the room and no smoke for a bit and fall back into it. And 2 of them might leave the room and pick a fag up the minute they leave the hotel.
Yeah, aye.
You know? But yet, there's only been one set of words that have come out my mouth. But it's been received by 10 ears, or 20 ears rather, and 10 brains.
Aye.
And it's, you know, people are, it depends how open you are to change, how, some people don't like the fact that they've been hoodwinked. They don't like to accept that because it makes me look stupid.
Aye, because they've got their story, because they've got their story of how things are, and you try to change that, because that
Exactly.
comes from their ego.
Aye, I should have known that. I'm not happy with that.
Aye.
Whereas some people think, well, is that it? Is that all that's kept me smoking for years? Well, I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore. And they just leave and don't worry about it, you know?
Aye. Brilliant, brilliant.
It's an amazing thing. And to be able to, and I'll never forget my first ever session. There was 17 people in it, right? My first time doing this, trying to memorise 5.5 hours worth of talk.
Brilliant.
And as we get to the end, once they've been out for the final cigarette, we do a kind of a deep relaxation exercise. Takes about 10 minutes.
Like a meditation thing.
Aye, and I say to people, if you want to lie on the floor, you can lie on the floor. You know, sit in your chair. Just be comfortable.
So, can they have a fag when they're on the floor?
Well, they've already put the last one out. And I'll never forget, there was a girl in the front row, and she got off her seat and she sat in a kind of lotus position, you know, with her legs crossed. And as I'm reading sort of through the relaxation part, I could hear some sniffling. And as I looked up, I could see this lassie was crying, and there was tears dropping out her eyes and making the legs of her jeans wet from her tears.
Aye.
And at the end of it, I said to her, are you okay?
Aye.
I said, I noticed you're pretty upset. She says, Jim, I've never been more okay in all my life.
Brilliant.
Because what you've explained to me today has on one hand made me delighted, but it's infuriated me that I never saw it the way it is and how straightforward and how simple it really is. Aye. And you've got no idea how much you've just changed my life.
Brilliant.
Now, if she was
that as a job, Jim, that's your job, you're changing people's lives. Phenomenal.
Exactly. And, you know, it was nice to get an order for 10 fax machines or 120 insurance policies, but that's no life-changing for anybody. Aye. Now, if she was the only one out of that 17 that actually succeeded, for me, that was the best day's work I'd ever done in my life.
Totally.
And on the way home, my wife phoned me. She said, how'd you get on? I said, it was really nerve-wracking, you know, there's a couple of bits I think I missed out, but I said it was amazing. I says, listen, I'm going to nip into Tesco and get some lemons. I says, do you need anything?
You got to nip into Tesco for some fags.
No, just for some lemons.
Aye.
My wife says to me, why are you going into Tesco for why are you buying lemons? I says, because I reckon the night that sucking on a lemon's about the only thing that's going to wipe this smile off my face.
Brilliant, brilliant.
It's amazing.
It's good, isn't it? I remember, I think just changing one bit, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons I want to do this podcast thing. The kind of a guest I want to get on. So see if this goes out to 10 people, right? I'm not expecting big things right away. Mm-hmm. If it goes out to 10 people, if one person listens to something you say and go, you know what? It just changes them 1% or something like that. Yep. Even me, like, I'm learning as well. I think it's brilliant. Like, I'll tell you, I went in a just a wee quick story. I went in there's a guy called Brian Costello who does he's got a company called Headstrong NLP.
I think I've seen you sharing some of his stuff.
Aye, and he's good. Yeah. And I went to like a thing called the Breakthrough Weekend. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's just a weekend. It's like kind of mindset stuff, and it's brilliant. You have a lot of board breaks. You write loads of shit on it that you want to get, and on the back you have goals that you break through it. But the biggest thing I got out of this, right? I got a lot out of the mindset stuff, but there was a wee woman there, like an older woman, maybe about 60 odds, and she was all the way through the weekend. She was there with her niece, and she wasn't getting involved. Mm-hmm. And I was always kind of going, that's a shame. She's kind of going, oh no, I'm just here for my niece. I don't really want to get involved, and I'm kind of going, I'm thinking you're missing out on a lot here, but at the end, the kind of end of the show, you do this board break. Aye. So you do a board break. You kind of, in my head, I knew it was just kind of a metaphorical thing. You know, you do the whole thing, you do the board break, and all right, that's cool. Yeah. I was kind of doing it, and it was good energy. But I
Is
remember
that
just
the thing
seeing
like they put a board between bricks and all that, and you're
so
aye,
you do that. It's a kind of a breakthrough thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest kind of thing I got out of it was this wee woman. We're all, it was maybe about 20 people in. The wee woman was in the corner, and I seen her kind of doing the board break.
Wee woman that wasn't interested.
Aye, but she done this board break, and I just seen this change. I just seen this as if everything changed in her. This big smile come across her face, and I was that's what it's all about.
She's got it.
See, my voice always goes a wee bit when I talk about that.
Aye.
It was just that kind of that change.
Because there was somebody that wasn't interested in it, but even then.
Aye. She wasn't interested, but then I just seen the change, and I was that's fucking brilliant.
Can I tell you a very similar story, actually? When I was still training to be an Allen Carr therapist, the guy that was running the business, I used to go and sit in sessions for him and Paul, and we were in the Grosvenor Hotel in Glasgow.
Aye.
And it was just in the run-up to the 2006 ban on smoking, in public places.
I loved that, man. I hate smoking.
Yes. So, Joe spent a fortune on PR. He employed a PR company to try and increase the business.
Brilliant.
And at this session in Glasgow, I think it was the Herald. There was a journalist there from the Herald.
Aye.
And at the start of the session, I heard him say to Joe, he said, listen, Joe, just to let you know, mate, he said, I'm a smoker, right? I love smoking.
Aye.
Right? I've smoked all my life. I'll smoke till I die. And I'm only here to write a piece about what you do.
Aye.
They're no funny business, right? Don't try any of that nonsense trying to get me to stop smoking and stuff.
Don't try that.
He was very categorical. And Joe said, listen, if you're only here to write a piece, if you're that happy being a smoker, you should be fine coming out the other side of it, you know. But, you know, don't just walk out and go for a fag when you feel like it. You know, if you're going to be in the room listening to what I say, you can only go for a cigarette when I send them out for a cigarette break. And the guy's like, that's all right. But remember, no funny business, right? No funny business. I love my fags.
I know.
Right? I couldn't believe what I was saying.
I'm still smoking after this.
Right? So when we get to the end of the session, before we all finish up, we speak to every person individually. So, John, how are you feeling? Any questions? No, I feel great. Some people say, a bit nervous. I say, listen, that's only natural. You've just stopped doing something that you've done for a long time, so it'll just take a wee bit of time to readjust to life. Don't worry about that. So Joe had gone round everybody in the room, and he said, well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the session. And at the back of the room, there's a journalist going, oh, his hand up in there. Joe said, yes. He says, you're not going to ask me how I feel? I said, I wasn't going to. He says, you're only here to write a piece about what I do. He says, I know that. And he said, do you mind if I come down the front? And he said to these people, he says, look, before this session started, I spoke to this guy. And I told him how much I love smoking. And I warned him not to try anything funny on me.
Don't try your manipulation shit with me.
And he looked to Joe and he says, Joe, in front of all these people now, based on what I've just told them that I said to you, ask me how I'm feeling.
Aye.
That's how you feeling. He says, fucking stupid. That's how I'm feeling. Because I can't believe I said to you what I said at the beginning of it.
Aye.
I've sat here, taking notes, but everything that you were saying, I found myself thinking, do you know what? He's right.
Aye.
He's right. He's right. He says, and as I stand here before you, I've got no more desire to put a fag in my mouth ever again.
Brilliant.
He says, I actually can't believe I'm standing here saying that.
Aye. So that was a guy that was wanted to smoke. It was like, I love smoking. I'm going to be a smoker. But then after hearing
the information that he heard on the day,
brilliant.
He says, I just can't go against it. I'd be kidding myself on to say, I know what he's saying, but I'm not going to bother taking that on board. Brilliant. So it just shows you people can, despite what they think, they can make. All we ask people to do is make a paradigm shift. I never knew what a paradigm shift was. In fact, I used to think it was called a paradigm. Because it's that mystery G in the middle of it.
Aye.
And I say to people, once you make a paradigm shift, and it's an irreversible change in how you see something, I says, and we all went through that as a kid, and I hope I'm not going to burst Andy's bubble here, but see the day we found out the fat guy with the red and white suit didn't actually come down the chimney.
What? Shut up. Aye, Jim, I was with you. I was with you all the way through there, but you're talking shite now. What the fuck, Jim? I was like,
you don't even have a chimney.
I've not got a chimney. It doesn't come to my house.
But that's all it takes. It takes a And there's I don't know if you know you're into your motivational guys. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy called Dr. Wayne Dwyer.
Aye, I love him. He's dead.
Aye, he died a couple of years ago. One of my favourite quotes of all is from him is,
I know what you're going to say because I've spoken to you before this.
aye, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change.
Aye, so say that again.
When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change.
Aye, aye.
And I say that to people, look, see the minute you change the way you look at smoking, everything else you see around smoking will completely change.
Aye.
Change it, you know, see that it does nothing for you. And then when you see other people smoking, rather than looking at them going, oh, look at them lucky buggers, they can still smoke.
Aye.
Instead of that, you'll look at them and think, what a shame.
That's a shame. Aye.
They still believe the stuff I used to believe.
Aye.
They still believe in fairies.
If you could sum up the biggest, the kind of mindset change that people go through? I know it's like a 5-hour thing, but if you could just summarise it, what changes?
One word, understanding.
Right.
At the start of my session, when I'm doing my kind of introduction, I say to them, ladies and gentlemen, let's just say that this is like a jury. You're the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Aye.
In a normal jury situation, you're given a case for the defence, a case for the prosecution, and then you weigh up which one you believe.
Aye.
This is slightly different because you're coming into this room already with a firmly ingrained case for the defence of smoking.
Aye.
You've had decades of the defence. It's in here.
Aye.
I'm going to give you the case for the prosecution. Now, it's different because in the sense that in a normal courtroom, you don't have a chance to question the person given the evidence.
Aye.
But at any point between now and then, if there's something I say that you don't agree with or understand, or you want me to clarify, stop me.
Aye.
Because I'll have an answer for it.
Aye.
You know, I will have an answer for it. And at least by the end of today's session, you will already have the defence for smoking. I'll give you the prosecution case for smoking. Aye. And when I ask you to smoke your final cigarette, it's just about weighing up what side of the story you want to believe. And if they understand it, and more importantly, once they accept it, John,
aye,
smoking that final fag is one of the most straightforward, enjoyable things to do.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Understanding, that's it. If you understand something, it's nice and clear.
Aye,
you know?
aye. Brilliant. Love it, Jim. That's some great stuff, Jim. So just kind of, I don't know how long we've done. Is that about an hour?
I don't know. It doesn't really tell me here, John.
You know, it's all right. So we just got to your last couple of things. I think that was brilliant. Some great stuff for the sales and the smoking thing. Mm-hmm. Just the mindset's brilliant. Just change your mindset. So then you do your dog thing. Dog thing. Your luxury. Your dog thing. So your luxury dog home. So how did that start?
Well, again, it came out of you know.
Explain what the business is first, Jim.
What's that?
Explain what your business is first.
We're just up above the village of Kirkfield Bank, just outside Lanark, just at the end. If you come off the motorway at Lark Hall and you get along the Clyde Valley where all the garden centres are, Kirkfield Bank's the last village before you go up into Lanark, and we're just kind of up the hill above it. But it's like you know, I do what I do with smokers out of the bad thing that was my life as a smoker. You know, and I say to people, I'm really glad I was a smoker. Most people can't say that. Because if I hadn't been a smoker, I wouldn't have need to stop.
Exactly. So I think that's a good way of looking at shit that happened in your life.
Aye.
If you can learn something from kind of something that happened and help so many people through your experiences, then they're kind of glad you were a smoker because of that.
100%. And to do the job for the Alan Carr organisation, you need to have been a smoker and you need to have stopped the method.
Aye.
You know?
For example, if I'd done it, I'd just be a liar.
Exactly.
So I've no smoke.
We did some work for IKEA a number of years ago. They paid for their staff to go through the session. We went into their premises and did it. And I remember the women saying to me, "We tried it before, but the woman that was running the sort of seminar was outside having a fag with the people."
Aye.
It's like when my wife was having her second daughter. The midwife had never had her own baby. And at 9:30 she says, "Well, you're in labour, but only a wee bit." And then at 10:30, because it was the day of my birthday, and I'm saying to my wife, "Come on, hurry up! I want my boy or my daughter, you know, born on my birthday."
Aye.
Well, 9:30 she was only just in labour. At 10:30, my wife said to the midwife, "I need to push," and the midwife says, "No, you don't." My wife said, "How would you know? You've never had to push in your life. You've never had a kid. You know, don't tell me I don't or I do need to push," kind of thing.
And it's
Anything
going to
with the
be
dog.
somebody that's overweight, isn't it?
Aye, exactly.
Somebody 20 stone, you're like, right, this is what you need to do to lose weight, guys.
Aye, it's like the lassie from Little Britain, you know, the slimming class thing.
Aye.
So the thing with the dog, we used to have a big Afghan hound called Basil, naturally.
All right, good name.
And we put him into a boarding kennel. We booked a villa and we went away on holiday and we had a great time. And when we put him in, the kennels didn't look, to me, they just looked like kennels.
Aye.
And when we came back, the dog was in an absolute state. I mean, covered in dried in shit, stinking of pee. He lost a load of weight and we ended up at the vets that night spending, I think, 500 or 600 quid, you know.
Aye. Just to come back stressed out.
Aye.
Dog was stressed out.
It was just terrible. And anyway, so we felt terrible about the whole thing. And my wife had always had a kind of an inkling that she'd love to run a boarding kennel business, but this was a kind of tipping point. So listen, why don't we look into it? At least start and investigate. So we went into all of Glasgow, North Lanarkshire, South Lanarkshire, Ayrshire. We were up as far as Invergordon, down as far as Carlisle and Stranraer. Just saying to people, look, we're thinking of moving to the area, but our dog's really important to us and we want to have a look around some kennels. And I tell you what, there were many. They all kind of looked the same. There were some a wee bit better than others, but, you know, they were all kind of traditional stuff of kennels.
I'm just stuck in a cage, basically.
Aye.
Jail.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's places that don't look nice and the staff are great.
Aye.
There's other places that look great and the staff are terrible. Aye. So it's like getting a builder. A builder could turn up at your house in a beautiful van with all the great tools and make an ass of it.
Aye.
You know, I got some work done on my roof, and this old guy turned up in a white van that was falling apart with rust. He had no tread in any of the 4 tyres. He looked like Compo from Last of the Summer Wine.
Aye.
What a job he made on my roof.
Brilliant.
If I'd looked at him in first impressions, it wouldn't have been good.
Sorry, mate.
Right. So we did all our research. We got in touch with a kennel designer. We looked into the ins and outs of running it, and then we started looking for somewhere to buy. And eventually we bought this. We had to buy somewhere with a bit of ground.
Aye.
We sold the house, put the profit in the bank. We moved in with my in-laws for a few months, and then when this place came up,
was that fun?
That was great. It was absolutely brilliant.
Aye.
And when this place came up, we were in a great position because we didn't have anything to sell.
Right.
You know? So we bought it in 2006. So that'll be about 14 years we've been here. 2008. Right? 2008, we get planning permission for a big 25-metre kennel building with 10 luxury suites and a kitchen and an office. And
I love it when you say just the change, rather than just a kennel, luxury suites.
Aye.
That's all part of your sales kind of background.
Absolutely. Exactly, because there's kennels and there's kennels, you know.
Aye. Luxury dog suites.
So my wife and I, in 2008, walked into the Lloyd's TSB Bank in West George Street in Glasgow with a business plan, asking for £160,000 to build a dog hotel. And the bank manager says to me, "Are you on heroin or something like that? Are you sniffing glue?" I says, "Why?" He said, "You not watch the TV? The financial world is collapsing around us. We're going into global recession." I says, "Aye, I know, but even if we're only 30% full, people still want to go on holiday."
Aye.
Anyway, so we never got it, and eventually, late 2010, I was out for a pint with my pal, and he was asking us how we were getting on, and I says, "Can I get the money?" And he says, "Well,
that's just 4 years later."
Nah, but 3 years later, aye. So we did nothing for 3 years.
Right.
And then he says, "Why don't you convert the stable?" Because we were going to use the stable as an office and reception for the big building. He says, "Why don't you convert the stable into 2 rooms initially?" I said, "Well, we've been thinking about it, but I don't know." Spoke to planning said, "Look, that's fine, we can change it. There's no fundamental change to your application."
Aye.
So we converted the stable into 2 big rooms. We built a website, we put it up, and poof, like that, we filled up. I mean, it was just...
So how many dogs could you get at the start?
4 in each room.
Right.
In the original 2 rooms, the inside rooms are 3 metres by 3.5 metres, and it's the same outside.
Aye.
Most kennels are about 1 metre by 2 metres, inside and out, you know.
So what size are they, sorry?
The original 2 rooms are 3 metres by 3.5 metres inside.
It's a big room, isn't it?
It's a big room. It's got electric underfloor heating. It's got double glazed windows and doors. It's got a wee what do you call it? A wee radio. And the rooms have all got web cameras. So when people go on holiday, we send them a link. And if they want, they can check in on their dogs whenever they want, you know. So that was 2011, and then a dear friend.
The people can watch their dogs from home.
From wherever they are in the world.
They're on holiday. they can sign up, they can go into the webcam just to
I
see
just send them a link and it takes them to a page at the back end of the website, and I give them a password and a username, and they log in and they can see the dog.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Aye. So then, 2012, a pal of mine kindly, kindly assisted us to develop the garage with a garage as well. We doubled the size of that and we converted that into another 2 rooms. And they filled up as well. And then it'll be coming up 4 years. We got planning to build another brand new building with another 4 suites and a wee kitchen in it as well. So that's us with the 8 suites. And I mean,
so 8 suites, 4 dogs a suite.
It's up to 32, but we've never had anywhere near that. I've got dogs in just now that live in the Isle of Coll, out our Hebrides. We've got dogs that come from Shetland, Orkney, Inverness.
You said you were going to get a dog on the webcam on the thing.
I'm upstairs. I don't know. Fredo might be back. I can check. Fredo's just been for a haircut.
Is that your end dog?
Well, actually, Fredo was a dog that used to come and stay with us. You know, he was a guest, and then the couple that owned him decided they wanted to move to Spain, so they asked us if we would rehome him. So,
all right, so you look after him. Aye,
he's great. He's a wee cracker. I've just texted my daughter to see if she's back from the haircut shop with the dog yet. If so, I'll get her to bring it. So that was us. 4 years ago, we opened up and we had the 8 suites, and you would think there was no correlation between what I've done all my life to what I do now in terms of the thing. But the one big thing, and I don't know if I've still got the book. Do you know this book, John?
Hold on.
This has been a book I've referred to on and off all the way through my life.
I've got it. I've got it somewhere.
It's not like a read once kind of thing. But his son, Stephen Covey Jr., wrote a book called The Speed of Trust.
Right.
It's a great book. And it's about the speed of trust.
Aye.
And he tells a story in it about, trust. Trust takes a long time to establish with people.
Aye.
But it can go like that. And there's a guy, he talks about a guy in San Francisco that bought over this famous restaurant. It was famous for its seafood chowder, and people would travel hundreds of miles to get to this restaurant.
Aye.
Packed with fish, and it was brilliant. Everybody loved it. And anyway, the guy retired and sold it on, and the guy that bought it looked at it and thought, fucking hell, there's a lot of fish in that. For what they're selling it, you could easily improve the margins. So slowly and surely what he did was he started to reduce the amount of seafood in it.
Aye.
But very quickly, people started to cotton on what he was doing.
Aye.
And they thought, this guy's at it. And all of a sudden, people stopped going back.
Aye.
So for somebody that had taken all those decades to build it up, sold it, he had a reputation for good quality product, consistent product, sold it, somebody else came in and thought they could pull the wool over the eyes of the other people that were coming in to pay the good money. So our business, as a salesman, you need to gain trust. That's one of the first things you need to do. They need to think, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Aye.
And one of the other famous bits of advice my boss, when I worked for ICI Adhesives, was earn the right. I said, what do you mean by that? Earn the right. Earn the right to pick up the phone and ask somebody for an appointment. In other words, know about their company before you make that call. And when you're on the phone, earn the right at the end of that call. You need to earn the right to say, can I come and see you and talk about my product?
Aye.
And once you go and see the company, you need to have earned the right to ask to take that call to the next stage.
Aye.
You need to have understood the guy's business enough. You need to have understood how he works, where his issues are, where you can help him.
Aye.
Only once you've done that, you've earned the right to then say, well, can we do a trial?
Aye.
Only once you've done the trial, you've set parameters, you've achieved the trial, you've achieved the parameters, you've exceeded them. Only then have you get the right to say, can I have your business?
Aye.
So gaining trust is paramount. And that's, there's other places I'm sure that do what we do, with nice buildings and everything else, but the buildings don't look after the dogs.
Aye.
We look after the dogs.
Aye.
People say, what do you do for a living, Jim? I say, I give people nice, relaxing holidays. And they think I'm a travel agent.
Aye.
I say, well,
I'm not just looking after the dog. You're giving people peace of mind for going on holiday and on their dog.
100%. Because they trust me, they trust my wife, they trust my daughter.
Aye. The reputation will build as well.
You bet. And that's why we don't advertise. We've never had to advertise, John. We I think advertised once or twice in the first couple of months, but
it's word of mouth.
That's word of mouth, it's repeat. And it's funny because initially, when people first found us, when we had 2 rooms, I say, I'm telling everybody about you. This place is wonderful.
Aye.
And then it slowly moved as we filled up. They go, I don't tell anybody. Because if the more people I tell, the less chance I've got of getting my dog in here.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant, Jim.
And here we are, 9 years. Well, that's 9 years past in May since we opened. As you can imagine, COVID's given us a bit of a kick. But
that's a shame. It's a shame.
You know, with 14 weeks with no dogs, because nobody could go anywhere, nobody could travel. But you know what? As I've always said, and you know, as the theme of this, what you're doing here is every cloud's got a silver lining. You know, our income from the kennels just dropped off overnight.
Of course it is.
But we get support for the government, we get self-employed grants and all these other things. But you know the good thing? 2 weeks after lockdown came in, it gave us the chance to sit down and have dinner and breakfast and lunch with our daughters, because they both work and they're coming and going and we're like passing ships in the night, you know. And after 2 weeks, my wife said one night at the table, she said, you know what I'm enjoying most about lockdown? Is being a mum again. What do you want for breakfast? Can I make you breakfast? Can I make you a cup of tea? What do you want for dinner? And we've had 9 years full on. You know, we're opening Christmas Day, we're opening New Year's Day, Easter. It's been kind of nice to... It was, in one sense, it was heartbreaking, because every time I went out the house, I looked at all this business we'd put our heart and soul into, just lying empty. I thought, well, it's not our fault, and everybody else will be in the same position anyway. But then again...
Learn this stuff, isn't you? Is like sometimes some hits, you just got to go learn what's the positives you can get from it.
And another thing my dad used to say to me was, you know, if you think for a minute, son, that you're going to go through life and you're going to sail through every month of the year of your life, you're kidding yourself on. You'll come up against challenges. You'll come up against problems. I mean, I lost my packaging job. I was earning massive amount of money when I was selling packaging. And one day they pulled it out from under my feet, but I just bought the Allen Carr business. So my dad always said to me, when these challenges come along in life, son, there's two ways you look at it. There's no doubt it's a speed bump in the road of life. But you can either let it block you, or you can let it trip you up. Or alternatively, you can just figure a way of stepping over it. Sometimes it'll take longer to get over that road bump. But so long as you're in the right mind.
You learn a lot. You learn more for the shit that happens, don't you?
100%. And I remember telling my wife that my job was finishing up with the Norwegian guys, and she was breaking her heart for obvious reasons, because we just bought a house in the country. I said, don't worry, some will come up. And within a week or 2 weeks of that job finishing, a Turkish company that we were using as a sub-producer, obviously the Jungle Drums had started going, hey Jim, I hear you've left Polybulk. You want to come work for us? I don't know. Oh, please come and work for us. And they were paying me 25 grand a year for working 15 days. 15 days a month, I was getting 25 grand a year. So every cloud's got a silver lining somewhere. It just depends on whether you're prepared to look for it or not, you know.
I'm just looking at the time, Jim. I think we've done about over an hour, but we just kind of finished. Because you don't want to kind of have like a Joe Rogan 5-hour podcast, right? maybe someday, maybe once I build it up. But it's been brilliant. So just kind of briefly, the other thing you do now is just talk about it quickly. Your funerals thing. You're a humanist minister. No,
I'm not. No, I'm not a humanist. Humanists are a separate kind of society and organisation. I'm just an independent funeral celebrant. So, you know, humanists. I'm not quite. I think what humanists don't do hymns or, you know, religious readings and that type of thing. Me being an independent, I say to people, if you want a Buddhist monk chanting at the back of the crematorium wearing an orange robe, if I can find one and he's free on the day, then that's fine, you know.
So you'll do whatever.
It was Pat Rowling.
So how long have you been?
It was Big Pat Rowling that first
he's been doing it. He's been doing it for a while as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, was that a gig? He did a wee gig for me in Lanark. What's that, John? He did a wee gig for me in Lanark a few years ago. And I asked him, I said, what do you do during the day? Because, you know what it's like. Comedians are like bats. You only come out at night time normally. And he told me about this, and then he put me in touch with a friend of his down in Helensburgh that had been to some training course. So I did the training course last July, and one of your kennel customers is a funeral arranger for a company. And when I told her, she said, look, just let me know. So I did my first, my first funeral was more terrifying than my first stand-up gig.
Oh, of course it would be.
Because if you have a bad stand-up gig, you just go home and greet and drink wine and
you're doing something in somebody's life. It's like
you get one shot. You know, you can't.
Oh, no, sorry, but this is my first gig.
You know, but
Give me a cheer if you're drinking.
so I did my first one last October.
Aye.
And it was
and
great.
Do you enjoy it, Jim?
I love it. I absolutely love it because, again, it's a bit like helping people that stop smoking. You're helping people through a bit of grief.
Aye.
You know, they're going through
Aye.
a period of grief. You know, I mean, the one I did yesterday, the guy wasn't old, you know, and it was a similar, very similar situation to me. Similar age that my dad died at, his son similar age to me. And, you know, you learn a lot about doing comedy and speaking to people. You can empathise with people. You can understand how they're feeling. And the first thing I said to the guy was, look, I know exactly how you're feeling, you know. I says, because I was a similar age when I lost my dad, and I know you're hurting like hell because I hurt like hell as well. In fact, it's 28 years and I still hurt like hell every so often. But I will promise you something. It'll pass, you know. Don't remember this dark period. Remember all the good times that you did, you know. And been able to sit down with a family that are breaking their heart. And I've had some hilarious nights in people's houses when I'm preparing for the service, you know. Laughing about their family, the member, and
humour helps a lot with these things.
100%. I even had to talk about a guy's farting habits at his funeral. His wife insisted.
Aye.
But it's a great thing. My daughter said to me, my youngest daughter Kirsty said to me, "You're going to do funerals, Dad? You cry at the end of DIY SOS. How are you going to cope with a funeral?" But it's a different thing, you know. And I've done funerals for. I think the youngest person was 30 and the oldest I've done is probably 94. And anywhere in between that, really, you know. But I'm always guided by the family. What do you want? How do you want to remember the person? What do you want to talk about, you know?
And what I like about what you do, Jim, just all your things you do, like your the smoking, the dogs, even the funerals, you're doing it because it's helping people.
Aye.
And it's kind of I think it's important to do that, do as much as you can. You know, it just changes people a wee bit or something.
And as well as helping and changing other people, you know, I enjoy it.
Exactly.
And listen, I say to people, we're not mega millionaires. We're not mega rich from the businesses that we've all got. But, you know, we've got a nice living. We pay our bills. We get holidays when we want to. And I don't shirk away for the fact that, you know, we make money out of what we do because what we do changes people.
Do
you know what I mean?
So you're doing something you love, helping people. You know, you're making money out of it as well. It's good. I
mean, even during my years as a salesman, you know, I think we were chatting the other night on Messenger, you know, doing quarterly reports. And I worked for a company, and every quarterly sales meeting, you had to do a report on what you did last quarter. And every quarterly sales meeting, I say to my director, I say, why? You know what I did last quarter. You've got the sales figures. You've got my daily call reports, my weekly call reports. We can't change what I did last quarter. Why don't you make these meetings where I give you a presentation, what I'm going to do next quarter? Because then you can gauge me on it. Then you can change something. Well, you said you'd do that, but you didn't. But what's the point of me standing here telling you what I did last month?
That's the thing. The big corporate companies end up doing shit that's pointless.
Once you've said something, once you've done something, you can't change it anyway.
Exactly.
So why worry about it? Focus. Don't focus. And in fact, there's a bit in that wee book I was just telling you, John. I'm conscious of the time, mate, but if I can find it, because it's quite.
We can finish on this, Jim. I can a wee kind of message in.
Right. I'm just trying to find the right picture here. So everybody in life have got concerns, right? So this is what it talks about. This is the circle of concern. Right. That's where you go through life, you've just got no concerns to worry about. Then you've got others where you've got what they talk about you've got the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern are the things that you worry about, and the stuff in the middle here are the things that you can do something about.
Exactly.
And the more you focus on that, the more you take control of, and the less concern you eventually get. You know what I mean?
Because I get that, because there's a lot of people I know, and I've done it as well. They worry about things they can do fuck all about.
Exactly.
You know,
one of the things that Stephen, some of the things that Stephen Covey talks about in that book is that what was the one? Don't get caught up in the thick of thin things.
So worrying about what other people are doing and stuff like that.
I mean, every time a new luxury boarding kennel opened, people would be phoning, "Oh, have you seen this is open?" I saw that. Is that no competition? No, because they don't employ Jim and they don't employ Angela. You know, they've got similar buildings to what we do, but they don't have us. They don't have me. They don't have Angela. So and whatever somebody else does, not going to change my business role, you know.
Exactly. All you can do is make your business the best. It's a bit like comedy, Jim. You get like, people in comedy who are talking about what other comedians are doing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's doing that, rather than going, no, don't worry about what you're doing. Worry about what you're doing. What was it? I read something on Facebook the other day. Somebody said something like that. If you are, I can't remember the quote. I wish I could remember the quote. It was somebody that put it on. That's brilliant. If you're constantly worrying about what other people are doing,
mm-hmm.
you should really be more worried about why you're worried about what other people are doing.
Exactly. And identify why that makes you worried.
So why are you worried about what people are doing? Aye. So focus on what you're doing. Be the best you can be and what you're doing. So I could quite easily, if I wouldn't do this podcast for the reasons, because I talk to positive people like you, and the reason I want to do it is because I could help one or two people, maybe. Yeah. But I could worry about people going, who the fuck does he think he is doing this podcast?
Aye.
He thinks he's fucking a big shot. Like, no, I'm doing it because I enjoy it. I want to do it because I enjoy chatting to people as well.
See what you've just said there, actually. My wife and I were in Edinburgh recently for a couple of nights for our wedding anniversary. We were 25 years married in the 1st of July, but we couldn't go anywhere. Anyway, the first day we came down for Greyfriars Bobby down to the Cowgate to your second home.
Aye.
And you come down that street, you would turn right to go to Sneaky Pete's. Well, on the corner there was a hat shop, right? Fab Hat Tricks, I think it's called.
Right.
So we went in for a wee look. My wife bought
What's it called?
Eh?
Fab Hat Tricks.
Fab
Hat Tricks.
Fab Hat Tricks. So we went in, we're talking to the women. I've got a couple of flat bonnets, right? Because I'm at that age, I can get away with it. And in January, when we were over in Dublin, I bought myself a kind of fedora because I've always fancied one, but every time I put it on, I thought I looked like a twat. So we're in this shop. My wife had bought a hat, and I was telling this woman, I said, you know, I still don't know if I can suit that hat that I bought. And she said, but the thing is, see, when you put a hat on, if you're not used to wearing a hat, you'll always be worried about what other people are thinking about you. But people are not looking at you thinking, that guy's wearing a hat. People will just walk past you, or they'll look and go, that's a nice hat. So it's about how you feel when you wear it, and the more you wear it, you get more confident with it, you know. I thought that's actually quite true. I just had nowhere to go to wear my hat because of lockdown.
You should have put it on the day, Jim.
Oh, I never thought, man.
That's what I got. Because I've shaved my head, Jim. I'm wearing the hat because I'm in.
You quite prefer the shaving look then?
Well, it was going a bit, Jim. I was in denial for a bit. So
get yourself a pair of razors and get it done.
I know I have. So in the lockdown, it was going a bit mental. So I got myself a set of clippers. I went, fuck it. That was another fuck it moment. I went, fuck it.
Quite right.
All right, it looked better than I thought. So
absolutely.
Right. I think we'll finish up, Jim, because that's been an hour and a bit. But it's been good. It's been chatting to you. And
first time I've done one of these, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But it's just say, if it's just like a chat, nice and easy, isn't it?
Exactly. So I'm the same. I was a bit apprehensive. I've been talking about doing a podcast for a while, and I was like going, oh man, what do I talk about? Do I need to have a list of questions, or do I just have a chat? What if we get awkward as fuck halfway through? But then you just got to go fuck it and just do it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to do loads of these. I'd ideally like to do 3 or 4 a week, just talking to different people. And because I want to build up my social media,
presence. Quite right.
Get to know what I do. Right. Anyway, so Jim, we'll finish up. I just spoke about awkward moments and I created one. I need to fix my computer as well. My computer's a bit floppy as well. So you get any kind of... Sorry, go.
I've just... Going back to that book there, just to finish up, there's one other thing that came out of this guy's mind. And one of the things is when doesn't matter what goes on in your life, doesn't matter what you're doing in work, it doesn't matter what you're doing with the family or whatever it may be. He says the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mind blowing. Right, okay, brilliant, Jim. So we'll end it at that, Jim. We can have a wee
Magic.
chat after it. Praise the God.
Aye,
So
no
that
worries.
was Jim McCready. Hopefully I'll see you again once the gigs start up again, Jim. We'll have a laugh.
Thanks for your time. I really enjoyed it, mate. Thanks. Cheers.
It was fun, mate. It was fun.